Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. My new Christmas present, a rain hat. I greet you with honor and blessings and knowledge and wisdom and healing from the Creator. It's raining a lot down here in South Georgia. I'll take that off and let my old hair stand up on end and look crazy for the moment. I hope all of you are having a fine day on this Sunday, December the 2nd, and that all of your family as well, as can be, relatives, so forth. So I always greet you with love and honor of the infinite creator because I think that's important. And so I get these little, I call them my angel messages. Let's have a topic for discussion for today, if you will. And um, it seems that sometimes I touch on certain subjects that really just have a tendency to piss people off. And I don't mean to, but there are sometimes that you just have to speak up and say what's real. And there are some folks in the religious communities that, they get offended when you say, hey, look, you can reach the creator and the source without a religion. And that just has a tendency to tick some people off big time because they put their entire life and their faith into a religion, a church, a thing. And if you try to explain to them that, but wait a minute, there are other ways that you can get to heaven. Much like me being raised a Catholic, I was told if you're not a Catholic, you're going to hell. That's it. That's just all there is to it. And so that sent me on a journey of Buddhism and Confucianism and all kinds of isms to try to find out what the right path was. And I think I found the path. I know I found a trail, and I know that it's leading in a good place. And as much as I try not to tick people off, sometimes subjects do that. And so that is what kind of brought up this topic for discussion. I know this is a weird segue into this, but you know me, I'm weird anyway. So, but the idea is that sometimes we look at something so hard that we don't see the forest for the trees, as the example goes. So, in the title of this, sometimes a feather is a key to the universe. My shaman name is Hawkeye Two Feathers, and for me, feathers are very magical. And in many other traditions and cultures, they're very magical. But here's the thing: to most people, when they look at this and they look at me and they see these two feathers, they're just feathers. There's nothing to them. They're just feathers. Okay, now let's stop, or let's use that. They're just feathers. So, what is a feather? Well, it comes from a bird. A bird grows this thing. He flies or she flies with it. It takes them and soars them up into the heavens. These feathers are made of individual tiny little lines, and they're all connected, but they're not. There's little hairs on them when you look real close that tie them together. They can split like a zipper and then close back up for flight. They can change direction. They can change the tip so that you can see these wonderful creatures in the air that soar high in the sky. And you say, but it's just a feather. Is it really? Could this be honestly a key to the universe? And what do I mean by that? Sort of meaning it rhetorical in a way, but a feather meaning flight. That we can fly through the universe when we understand what a simple feather is. It's made up of all these atoms. It's made up of all these things. Creator made the bird in an egg. Which came first, the egg or the chicken? But this is not a point for discussion in that respect, because Creator could have just made an egg and hatched a chicken. How about that one? Not necessarily as a creator. Ooh, God's making stuff now. Okay, but I want to create a chicken, so the best way to do it would be to start with an embryo. Stem cell research, anyone? You know, that kind of thing. Embryos, okay. Let me finish my smoke here. Shame on me for smoking, but just one of them days. It's actually only my third for the day, so I'm feeling proud about that one. But let's take a simple feather and say, well, what could this cosmically be the key to the universe? Well, when you understand that so much went into creating this feather, when you think Creator had to think up of a way to have all these little pieces linked together and then come back together again, that on a molecular level, these things, the main stem of the feather is hollow, so that it's aerodynamic. All these things are taken into consideration, and there are thousands of feathers on each bird. So you think to yourself, but it's just a feather. Is it? It's a complex mechanism in a simplified world. And when we can just sit down with a feather and understand its genius in its creation, and that the Creator came up with this thing, not just one feather, but all feathers to fit on a bird, and that all the feathers work together, and that they are a living part of the bird itself. And you say, well, how is this the key to the universe? Do you understand that? Can you grasp it? Can you grasp the idea that medicine men will use a feather to travel to other places? Because it is a key. It is a key in a way that, because it represents flight, because it represents motion, because it is, in essence, all of creation on how to fly in this one feather. And you say, is this the key to the universe? Well, what can your imagination be? What is your realm of thinking? Would you allow this feather to take you to another realm? Would you understand a feather enough to understand all the fine mechanics within the feather and be able to use it simply as a focal point, possibly, or an understanding that if I hold this feather like Dumbo the elephant, that he could fly? And I relate to Dumbo because I have big ears, and when I was a child, everybody called me Dumbo. And so his magic feather. Now, little did I know that feathers would become part of my shaman name. But the two feathers represents a lot, in that you can't fly with just one, but maybe two, because then they create wings. And so one feather is just a feather by itself, but two feathers can make wings. And between the two of them, they can fly. Now, I know this is very esoteric in thought and very kind of way out there in thinking, but it's that when you have a discussion with a shaman or a medicine man or woman, and they hand you a feather, and you say, well, gee, that's a pretty feather. Thank you very much. No, it represents so much more. Can you understand what a gift of a feather to you could mean? Does it mean, oh, well, they really like me and that's a pretty feather, and they just, nah. Feathers come to people. They're magic symbols in the real world, because Creator, the angels, the spirits will leave you messages, and sometimes they leave them in forms of feathers. Now, if you understand feather magic, if you would take the time to understand what a feather could mean, represents, and all of the depth involved with feathers, then you would say, oh my goodness, this will unlock certain things in my brain. It unlocks certain thoughts, emotions. I see birds, I can close my eyes and visualize an eagle soaring above the ocean, or, a great osprey, or maybe even a vulture searching for something to eat, which this happens to be a turkey buzzard feather. And so it's like, well, why do you have a bird why do you have the feather of a carrion bird, something that eats dead things? Well, let me tell you a little Native American story. And depending on the tribe and depending on where, the story varies. But here's the basic parts of the story. A long, 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 long time ago, take the Wayback Machine, the vulture was one of the grandest birds. It's one of the largest, the condor, of the California condor. I mean, the turkey buzzards around here, which frequently nest in trees near the house here. And I've often wondered why, but I understand that there's just good energy here, and that they can feel safe, and that they can rest their wings and sleep for the night without being, interrupted, if you will. So, but here is the turkey buzzard, one of the grandest of all birds, could soar the highest, could see the farthest, could smell the best, but the turkey buzzard became so enamored with his own plumage, his own grandness, that every time Creator offered something for the bird to eat, the bird said, "I'm sorry, but I don't eat mice." Well, I don't eat fish. Well, I don't eat this, and I don't eat that. And finally, the turkey buzzard was sitting up high up on a tree limb and looking down on everything that he surveyed. And he goes, "I am the finest bird. I am one of the largest birds. I can soar the highest in the heavens. Be yet nothing here on earth is fit for me to eat." And Creator said, "If that's what you think so, buzzard." And so with that, the only thing that from that day forward, the only thing that a turkey buzzard would eat, or a vulture, were dead things. They lost the plumage on their head, so there's just skin now, so they can reach their beaks inside a dead carcass and pull it out. And I know that's gross, but to the point though, they lost the great turkey buzzard, which can soar for hours and hours and hours. I've watched them myself, and imagine flying with them, soaring with them up in the sky. And because of turkey buzzards' narcissistic self-indulgence, Creator said, "From this day forward, then you will only eat dead, rotted things." And turkey vulture was like, "What?" So he lost the plumage on his head. He lost some of its colorations because it stayed in the sky all the time, and the sun baked its bright feathers and turned it into a bird of mostly blackened. And that was the fate of the turkey vulture, the turkey buzzard. Of all carrions, how did they come about? Because they were so full of themselves as to how great, how large, and how long they could soar. Creator said, "I'll teach you a lesson." He gave them plenty of food, but instead of eating something live and fresh or whatever, because of the arrogance of the turkey vulture. So you say, well, okay, Hawkeye, where are you headed with this thing? We're back to the feather. So at one particular time, feathers of a very great bird were charred because they had to spend most of their time soaring up near the sun. And that instead of having a good fresh meal of whatever, they don't hunt now because they were too arrogant. They only eat dead things. And you say, well, how'd you learn all that from a feather? Well, there's a history in the feather. There are histories in all types of feathers, in all types of birds. Chickens aren't as stupid as a lot of people think they are, and they can fly a pretty good distance. Well, okay, 10, 15 feet, but they're pretty good at flying when they have all their feathers. But the thing is that if you cannot bring yourself to stop and just think about that this feather is much more than just a feather, because some people, I'm okay, wear it in hair. It's just a feather. The idea that it's just a feather in so many words is almost like sacrilege, because this is a holy item. A bird made it. Creator made the bird that soars in the heavens. I mean, okay. And so from so many levels, this is much more sacred. But when you say it's just a feather, you're missing the point. So in order to understand the universe more, you've got to take a simple feather and look at it microscopically, if you will, and take a look at all the different things and all the different things. I mean, I was taught years ago, if you have a feather, that you watch birds preen. You take the feather and you use the oil of your own hand so that it keeps the feather oiled. Now, this feather's dried out because I haven't cared for it properly. But every day that you should stroke it, you should peel it back this way because it helps to get rid of everything that's in between the feathers. And then you preen it back up, just like a bird would do. And that helps. And you put your bodily oils back into the feather to keep it for a long time. Now, so feathers are alive until you stop paying attention to them. Like this one here, it sat up for a little while and I haven't taken care of it. And shame on me. But other things have kept my focus in other directions. I haven't taken care of my feathers. Now, that's just wrong in so many ways in my world. But to the point, though, these feathers mean so much more to me. So when I woke up this afternoon kind of in a different paradigm, if you will, something, with a lot of weird stuff going on in the universe right now. The last time I checked, the Schumann resonance was really, really weak. It was like almost not there. So we're in a lull. We went through a really heavy period, and now we're into a period where there's barely any Schumann resonance at all. Quite the opposite. But anyway, in doing that, sometimes we need a very high peak and then a low spot, not necessarily depressed, but just a lower energy, so that we can contemplate all the big stuff that we received. Well, in that, I was like, some of these things, I was like, well, I was using feathers and Native American things as a crutch because I felt like I couldn't pray to Creator without my feathers. And then I realized through many messages and meditations and so forth that the feathers weren't necessary for me to stay in touch with Creator, that I was using it as a crutch. But at the same time, then I ignored the feathers because I don't really need them anymore. Well, shame on me. I'm disrespectful to the feathers that brought me there in the first place. I've had this feather for years, and it's like, why can't I take it down and take care of it like I used to? Because my mind has been someplace else, quite frankly. But at the same time, it's like, but I'm disrespecting the thing or things that help me to achieve a higher realm of thought. To be able to take a feather and meditate with it and say, take me where you've been. This feather has a memory of where it's flown to, of the bird it was on, and how it soared in the sky. So if you take this and if you meditate on it and use the energy that's stored within this feather, then it can take you on these soaring flights that the bird took. It's in this thing here. There's memory in this feather. There's memory in all feathers. So it's like, but can you open your mind to understand that this is even possible? Can you understand that, well, hey, wait a minute, we're back to the same thing. Dave, it's just a feather. Well, in other realms and other forms of thought, which some would say are of an expanded mind, nothing is just a feather. A grain of sand is when, if you could look at it up close, it's got facets on it. It could be a silica and quartz combination. It could be all different kinds of things. We have to look at the minute, not necessarily to study it or to pick it apart, but just to confirm to you and I that it exists. So when we can see these small particles, when we understand the smaller things in our 3D reality, hopefully it's supposed to open up your mind and expand your mind to go, oh my God, when I look up at the stars, oh man, it's just part of a feather. It is the key to the universe. Oh, holy shit. Whoa. When you can think on another level, I'm holding this feather that came from a bird. This bird soared in the sky. If I meditate on it, I can soar with where that bird went. Really? Can you believe it? Can you allow yourself to believe it? Can you allow your energy to merge with the feathers? Can you allow this to happen? But you see, when you do these things, you're putting yourself in the quantum realm. You're putting yourself out there in the cosmic goo, as I like to call it. And it's a clear gelatin kind of thing that stuff's moving around in, and it holds stuff in place. And, and the idiot scientists call it dark matter or dark energy. But anyway, that's because you can see through it and it's dark on the other side. Okay. It's dark outside. My windows are fairly clean and I don't see the glass. It doesn't mean that the glass isn't there. I could say that the glass in my windows tonight are full of dark energy. No, it's dark outside and I'm not seeing the glass. That's what we're seeing in the universe. So when you can accept certain things like that, and you can accept, wait a minute, with this feather, I can get in touch with that bird. Now, it just so happens that the feathers that I have are from birds that were killed. Not by me, but I took some of their wing feathers and tail feathers, as I used to do. And I honor them by using the feathers in ceremonies, just to honor them, just to say, you were a great bird. And to maybe sit down and meditate with those feathers at times and just see where that journey takes me. And it's amazing sometimes when you allow yourself to do it, to let the energy, that quantumness in all things, and allow yourself to connect to it. And each bird's different. I mean, I've got woodpecker feathers and they're totally different than like, say, a hawk or I had eagle feathers and I got them correctly. I got them from a zoo and I picked them up myself. So there was no, but you're still not, we're Americans are still not allowed to possess eagle feathers, even though an eagle may drop them in a cage at the zoo. You're still not allowed to possess them. Just saying. I snuck a couple home years ago. But anyway, but to the point though, each of the feathers represents a different type of animal and its style, its eating habits, all of the above. And you say, well, Hawkeye, what does that matter? Well, if you're trying to expand your mind to be shamanistic, if you will, to the new age awareness, to the new fourth reality, fifth dimension, whatever you want to call this stuff, the idea is that you must think beyond what it actually is. When you make the statement, this is just a feather, then you're not understanding the universe. And you say, well, that's a really simple statement. But it is. Because do you understand the complexities? How many feathers are on a bird? They all work together with the bird. They are all engineered differently. No two feathers are the same. They're similar, but no two feathers are the same. So it's like every time you pick up a feather, it's a unique object in itself. Just like we are all unique human beings. Yeah, we all got the same kind of structure, blah, 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 but we're all unique. Feathers are the same way. So each one has its own story to tell. Well, can I believe that there's a story in this feather? Well, it flew on a bird in the sky. Why not? Well, but that's kind of woo-woo, Hawkeye. Ain't that just a feather? So shamans, they don't limit themselves to it's just a feather. Shamans look at it and go, this came from a great bird. This came from a special creature, whatever, made by Creator. And I get to hold it, feel it, and Creator endowed me because I found the feather for whatever way, reason, or rhyme, or whatever. And so that in itself can be a gift. And if you look around, sometimes when you find particular feathers, you will also find that, oh my gosh, there was something attached at the time there was a message that you were looking for, or that it came through, or a confirmation of something, and you get a feather and you go, oh, thank you. You're now in tune with the Creator and with the spirit guides. When you understand these little subtleties in life, when you can expand upon a simple feather and say, oh my God, this may be the key to the universe. Now I could choose a leaf, I could pick a tree, I could pick all different kinds of things. But in this particular message, it was told to me that it's important I use a feather because the feather represents flight. And so many people now are experimenting and traveling in the astral. And one of the things that I know that in shaman traditions and ceremonies, a feather is used as a grounding, if you will, almost like a familiar, in that this is my feather. I use it during ceremonies. I use it to put the sage around me. I use it when the feathers when I'm saging someone else, to put the creator's magic from the feather into the wind of the sage and to blow that around the person or the thing or whatever it is that's being smudged. And so it's like, okay, so there is a spiritualness then with the feathers that are used by shamans, which makes them even more special. But to the idea that, but each feather is special in and of itself. And can we understand that? Well, in order to be a true shaman, you have to understand certain basics. Now, if you're in India or you grew up in the desert where there's not many feathers, maybe a feather isn't what's used as a vehicle to the other side, or the overworld. I would like to call it, not the underworld, but the overworld, the expanded universe out there in the goo, in that dark energy. Ooh. But let's go swimming in it. Let's go swimming in some of this dark energy and let's see how dark it really is. It's just you can't see it. That's all. But can you take a feather trip? Can you understand that I'm going to take a feather? Somebody gave me a feather. Why did they give me this feather? Well, it's a significance. So there's so many things that could be tied to the feather. So, and but it's just a feather, Dave. Then you've got a box that you're thinking in and that you're having trouble trying to think out of. And with the utmost of respect, I say, I wish you well, and I will continue to pray for you to understand that a feather most definitely is one of the keys to the universe because of how it's made and all the things I've just described. Now, where do you want to take that to yourself? How do you use that in your own life? Well, everybody's on their own shamanic trip. Everybody's on their own road, their own journey for this mental awareness, expansion, all of the above, right? We want to see what's in another dimension. But when birds fly up in the sky, they're, okay, flat earthers, round earthers, what are the birds seeing? They're flying. Are they fake? Anyway, that was a slight jab right there in that some of this nonsense. Well, can you believe that a bird flies as high as they do? I don't know. They're magical, but that's the part. They can leave this earth and enter into another dimension. So can you understand that? Well, I've flown in airplanes before. And I've felt, especially in a small plane, you're sitting in a 4-seater, prop job, and, you're at 12, 14,000 feet looking down, and it looks totally different. It's just you and the pilot and the engine, and it's like, oh my God, the clouds and the things, and it's a lot different than flying in a big jet airliner. Even though those experiences were very special to me as well. But to the point, though, that when you get up that high, you are in another realm. You are flying with the angels. So can you allow your brain and your mind and yourself and your spirit to expand that? So feathers represent a lot more than just being a feather. There is so much more in that thought of flight, of entering other dimensions, of being higher than a kite, if you will, and that there's a lot more to it. How do you wish to use that energy? Do you find that it's useful at all? When you look at the microscopic, you can see the macroscopic. You can see the big picture, how everything is intertwined together, how a simple feather is actually connected to the universe in many, many different ways. Every one of these little veins on this feather, they're individual. You can split them out to one and one and one and one. Those are antenna. They act just like an antenna. So it's like I've got an antenna, I've got the energy of the bird, I've got all these other things that I've discussed. Are you willing to simply believe that with the idea of a simple feather, that it could be the key to the universe? Depends on how you want to think about it. There are a lot of other things you could think about and meditate upon that may not have the significance that a simple feather has in all of the things I've discussed. So the spirits just wanted me to have this little discussion because there are other things that you can, I have quartz crystals that I've sat down with and meditated on. And so the crystals take me places that the feathers don't. But with the feather and a crystal, oh my God, what a trip. And that's without any kind of hallucinogenics or anything. This is just plain out, straight out. Let's have a good meditation and allow yourself to go where you need to go, or where spirit needs to direct you for whatever lesson you're learning. Now, I want to bring that up just for the moment because there are people who are doing a lot of meditation and stuff right now, and they're wanting to explore the astral realm and things like that. And I have been trying to cautiously warn people, if you're not used to this, please stick close to home. Don't go out wandering around in places because the energies are really whacked out. There's a lot of weird energies out there and a lot of evil darks. Well, I say dark, nasties out there that like to get attached to newbies. And so it's like, okay, so one of the things, if you do have a feather and you do want to try astral projection, use the feather as a tie-in. I know if you want to think about Dumbo the elephant, okie dokie, but that's not necessarily like that. The feather is more of a protection. If you smudge the feather, if you smudge yourself with the feather, which is a good idea if you're going to go astral projection and you're going to go out walking in other realms, you should protect yourself. If you hold on to this feather, or say if you're laying on your back, that you put it on your chest, that this will help you stay grounded in this realm, but also allow you to fly in the next, in the other realms. So that's a little tip about that. But smudging oneself before astral projection and, a good feather, it'll help. But stay close to home. That's the angels or warnings. Y'all don't be out there doing this stuff. And if you're not used to this. And to those folks who want to, I know you folks aren't here, and I can see Melanie and Marie, Ice Station Z, Quartz Quantum. I see you all over there hanging out. I can only see your names in the thing. This Chromebook screwed up Facebook thing or YouTube thing. Anyway, but to the point though, be careful out there. If you're going to try something strange, then please have a guide. If you know of someone who wants to try DMT or some other thing and blah, 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 please be grown up enough to advise them, maybe not right now. And do you have a guide? And just ask simple questions. And you don't necessarily have to tell them no. Ask them though, do you have a guide? Do you really know what you're doing? And my point to this is that when people are doing some of these things, there is no purpose to their meditation. There's no purpose to what they're doing. Oh, well, I want to see what's out there. That's not good enough. Pick something. What is the meaning of life? But that can come to you as well. But it just may take you 20 years to figure out what it means or longer. But to the point, though, anytime that I've ever done a ceremony, and shamans teach this, if you're going to go out there into other realms and tinker around, then you need to have a specific thing. For example, a sorcerer or a witch type person, or even a pagan ritual, there is a theme to it. What do I wish to accomplish? Now, I don't mean that, I'm going to meditate so I can learn how to take over the world. That's not it. Pick something of I want more understanding about crystals. Give me a tour of crystals, and focus on that. Or I would like more creator knowledge about feathers and the magic of feathers and what it means, and etc. Or the magic of stones, or the magic of trees, or there's a weird stuff in the universe. Can you help me explain it? But stick to one thing. Just don't go out there and go, oh, show me what you got. No. Have an idea, have a setting, have a something, have a theme, whatever you would like to call it. But that will also be your focal point when you're trying to understand it. So if you're out there floating around and go, "Ooh, look, a swimming pool full of sharks. Let's go see what that's like." No, that's not your target. Your target is, I want to understand, crystals or something. "Ooh, look, there's a teepee full of whatever it is. There's a gazillion things in the universe to draw your attention away from what you want to focus on. So a true shaman with a true spiritual connection will be able to keep that focus, much like a sorcerer or a witch or a pagan, or in different types of ceremonies. Now, because it is the focus thereof. And sometimes I'll come up with my own little mantra, my own little chant, my own little song. I wish to learn about the water wisps. So, Creator, teach me about water wisps. Show me what water wisp and how these entities will live. Show me what their spiritual nature is. Creator, I wish to know more about water wisps, so that I may respect them and honor them more the next time we meet. So, it's like there's not really anything magical in the words, but because I'm going to repeat them and because I'm going to say them out loud to the universe, this is what I wish with this meditation or uh, little ceremony. And the ceremony could just be nothing more than meditation with a little sage burning and a candle. Okay, it doesn't mean you're outside with a drum, but whatever the ceremony thing is to put you in that meditative state, to look for those answers. So but stay on topic. If something tries to drag you off somewhere else, stay on topic. Otherwise, you're going to get mixed information. And there again, if you're new to some of these things, or someone who is, maybe you could offer to guide them. In other words, just allow them to be in the room and say, okay, now close your eyes and listen. And it's not that you're trying to put them in a trance, but you're trying to put them in a calm voice to where you say, okay, now repeat after me. I am a calm spirit. Okay, I am a calm spirit. Okay, I am a part of the universe. I am a part of the universe. Is there anything special in the words you say? No, but they're affirmations. You're stating positive things. I am a part of the universe. You can debate that shit all night long, but any living, breathing, cognizant person has got to understand that even if the universe is flat and we're sitting under a dome, we're still a part of something. And that in itself is the universe. Now, for me, I choose to think way, way outside. But with that said, though, it's okay that we all have different levels of understanding with this. We all have to reach these different levels of understanding. So we do these things by meditating on a particular thing. Now, I'm guilty, and I'll say this. quite frankly, there's been times, but now this is after many years of doing this, that I'll say, I'll just sit down with a good meditative state and say, all right, guys, what you got? But, that's after 25 years of meditation, actually more, but to the point, I still know in my own head, in my brain, certain things try to get in. I'm already protected. But I'm speaking more for the newbies in trying to understand this other realm. Be careful, take the steps necessary, because unless you were an Olympic diver in a previous life, you don't jump off the high dive the first time you ever see a swimming pool. You just don't. Okay. You get in the shallow end, swim around, you try the jumping off the side, and then you go to the low board, and then you climb up the ladder to the big one. But to the point, though, that's what people are trying to do with this thing. They're trying to jump off the high dive, and they've never seen a swimming pool before, let alone, try to dive into it in any way, shape, or form, or understand that, oh my God, if you land flat, that water hurts like hell. It'll knock you out, take your breath away. You wished you were dead, turn your skin the color of a boiled lobster. So it's like, okay, but these awarenesses, though, only come when you fall from a 10 or 12 foot high diving platform and land flat on your back or your belly, and you go, oh, I'm not going to do that again. That hurts. But to the point, though, if you see somebody else hit the water and they go splat, and you're observing from the sidelines, you can go, I don't want to do that because that shit looks like it hurts. You know what I'm saying? So from an observer standpoint, so with the things that we know and do, we want to make sure that we know what we're doing. We observe first, and then we go climb the ladder and jump off the high dive. Be smart about this. To kind of wrap things up here, this was a whole lot longer than I thought I was going to chat, because they just basically wanted me to have the conversation that there's so many folks out there like, ooh, look at this, and ooh, look at that. Well, here's a test. Can you take a feather and do this little mental exercise? And if you will understand it and allow the creator and the information that's there to present itself to you, then you will have a greater understanding. Now you may not feel right off that you soared with the bird, but you can, if you can imagine it by just your observation of birds, you can feel a lightness in your spirit. It will lift you to another realm of reality, whether you actually can feel yourself soaring or not. It will still lift your spirits. So it's very magical in and of itself. And I mean magic in the earth magic type of thing. It's not really magic. It's not paranormal. Well, actually it is paranormal. It's above the normal. So, but these are the types of things that we're going to be learning as everyday things. So if you're just learning with some of this, or you're having difficulty with some of this, maybe the use of a feather and what I just spoke about could help you along with whatever it is you're searching for, and can help, and it will dang sure help you in your astral projection and with protection, etc., especially if you smudge first. And if you're new to this, I absolutely, and if the folks over here with Pamela, hi Pamela, Quartz, and Melanie, and so forth, if you know other people, I say warn them, like, do you really think that's a good idea? Versus telling them, I think that's a crappy idea. And you ask them, do you think this is a good idea? Do you really know what you're getting involved in? Do you have enough information? Ask them the questions. Don't tell them that they're stupid, but ask them if this is a dumb idea. Which are you calling me stupid? Well, no, I'm just saying there's something in there that just sounds like a dumb idea to me, but present it in a way is like, please, we have to be kind. We have to lead folks. And if you can help someone that and just in like having a communal meditation, just, okay, come over, we're going to have coffee. And for 10 minutes while we're having coffee and scones or whatever, we're going to do a little meditation. it's not, we're not going to go into anything hairy. We're just going to close our eyes and stay calm. A lot of things we can do, should be doing in order to help each other along. Now, I know there are a lot of folks that do that, but there are some folks that are going, I don't know if I want to get into that. What, 5 or 10 minutes with somebody who's having difficulty so they can have a connection, much like that, the folks who come and hang out in the chat rooms and some of these, these little back channels like mine. And I love you all. I do. You humble me every single day when you show up and participate. You do. And but the message that are coming in more clearly than ever now is that we're going to have to help a bunch of folk out. And the best thing we need to do is just, let's all agree that these certain kinds of things will help folks. And if there are people who are already opening up to the idea, well, then rather than, piss them off or shove them away, well, come over and let's have coffee. Let's have a chat. Let's have a biscuit and some tea, if you don't mind, please. So it's like, but when people, because there are a lot of people now who are having these awakenings and don't know what the F to do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you had to go searching around. I mean, oh my God, I've traveled around the United States and spoke with shamans and teachers and, okay. But to the point though, it's like, yeah, the search. Who's got what? What can I learn? How can I interpret this and use it in my own life? How does this make sense? Et cetera, et cetera. So, but when you meet someone that you connect with and you go, oh my God, we have a similar kind of thing going on here. Ooh, that helps. It's like, and I've talked about it briefly before in learning how to play a guitar, for example. I sat in with people who are 10 years playing, and I've just picked this thing up for 2 months and I want to learn how to play. I can't even make a C chord or barely can make a G, and it's like, all right. But these people had kindness in their heart and said, just a second, here's a G chord. Okay, and here's a C. Oh, and by the way, here's a trick to make that tricky A. Oh, you learn it from somebody older. And they say, okay, now go home and study that. And the next time we get together next Saturday when we're all playing in the park, bring your guitar and show us what you learned. That's how I learned how to play guitar. A bunch of hippies sitting in a park. But they were good hippies because they were like, come on in. So when it came time for me, when I knew all these chords and I learned those tricks and I was comfortable with making the chords, then there was the new guy. And I'd go, hey. And as long as the new guy had respect, of course, because there's a lot of asshole new guys. But to the point, though, it's like, look, I'll show you. I'll stop and we'll even go through this together because someone showed me. To learn it on yourself, you can't get the pitch right, and the tune, the strum, the ding, yeah, it's okay. But when you sit in with other people and play music, you go, there's another level. So if you know somebody in your realm of reality and of physical people versus me knowing you guys across the world, which I love you folks, is that sit down and have coffee with them, connect with them, especially if they're struggling, invite them over, or maybe just a good phone call, one-on-one, and, maybe, or a Skype one-on-one or something, or Hangouts, but reach out to other people. And have other people, I've had other people reach out to me, and God bless y'all. In helping you to understand, I've learned how to explain it better, and which helps me to understand it myself in a way. So it's like I get a benefit out of teaching folks how to understand certain things. What is your train of thought on this? Can you meditate upon this? Can you do these simple exercises? Will you do these simple exercises? Because you got to get your brain in function, right? So, but the angel messages are very clear. Strap in. We're going to be in for some more fun for the next couple weeks. I've already warned about, the seismic activity and the volcanoes in weird places and the movement of the magma and the fact that the earth, so far, I'm hoping it'll clear off tonight so I can do a star chart. But for almost 2 weeks now, the moon's been coming up in the right place, and the Earth has looked stable. So I mentioned it in another video. They're trying to state that, oh my God, the Earth is in a wobble. No, the Earth was in a wobble. If these things hold true and the moon stays where it's supposed to be, the Earth has already settled down. But the jet streams are going to be the second thing. Now, I did a video on this about 2 weeks ago, but I'll reiterate that the jet streams are going to be the second thing to catch up with the planet. And the third thing that's going to catch up will be all of the Gulf streams and all the ocean currents. That's going to take longer for them to come around. But I noticed that yesterday and Friday, there came out with, oh my God, the Atlantic's a different thing. And the temperature and the ocean currents are different. And I've been talking about that for a long time, warning people about the Gulf Stream along the East Coast. It ain't nowhere near where it's supposed to be, and it ain't doing what it's supposed to do. But to the point, though, if the moon is back where it's supposed to be, and I'm telling you, the Earth is stabilized in a lot of ways, but all the centrifugal force of all the magma and all of the, gooiness underneath us, the water underneath us that moves in large lakes, all of this stuff is sloshing around, and we just need to hang on till it calms back down. So, but people are, oh, it's Planet X caused it. Wait a minute. Did Planet X put the moon back? Just saying. And if they did, well, okay, then Zeta Reticuli are right on the money with that one or something. I don't know. I'm making something up there. I'm trying to be frivolous about that. Some of these new things that are coming out, we're going to have to ease people into. And these new awarenesses and their eyes are going to be wide open, and they're just going to go, start them off slow. And the thing you should ask them is, what bothers you most, or what's on your mind? Or, you've heard me talk about stuff before. What's the subject you would like to start on? Well, I don't know. What they just talked about this JFK stuff after all these years. Did you mean Lee Harvey Oswald really didn't shoot Kennedy? Okay, you want to start there? Okie doke. But start where they want to start. You don't go in and go, okay, awareness. All right, now the universe is this great big huge thing. Don't start there. You're going to wash them out, and they're just going to sit there and it's going to be worse than a deer in the headlight. It's going to be two deer in the headlight. Okay. So don't compound your issue. So ask them what they want to know more about and help them, because that is our chore. That is what we get to do. You and I and the rest of us who know a little more than other folk who are newer at this, that is our task. And I think that most of us have agreed to it, with reverence. And that we just need to keep our heads together, keep our core values, and pass along the good energy. So that's apparently all that. Milky Way, I don't know if you're still there. But howdy, everybody. Pamela, I said hi. Melanie, you used to say that life is a feather. Yep, in a lot of ways. I'm sorry, Quartz. My stomach decided that it didn't want to eat dinner tonight. That's a shame. Ice Station Z says, I've replaced the artificial feathers in my Scottish hat with the feathers found around the feeders. Absolutely. I've had a couple of chickens over the years, and they were like really fun, and people were like, what's those? Well, these were, I didn't keep the bird, but I kept a couple of feathers. NFL. I haven't watched a football game in years. And I mean, I love football, not to the point of being fanatical, but a rainy Sunday was time for football. But, hey, but yeah, I can't watch it anymore. There is no dome. If there was, Quartz says, there is no dome. If there was, then I wouldn't be seeing stars in the sky at night. I agree with you there, Quartz. And Pamela, I hope things are going. Actually, I hope things are going well for all of you. But my prayers out to Pamela and everybody else. And so good night, good night. Assignment accepted. And so all of us, I just want to say thank you all for your undying love, and you humble me every single day. So keep up the good works, folks. Um, Stay on the simple track. If somebody tries to drag you away from your core value, just tell them kindly, I don't have time for that. Thank you very much. So I close with my normal prayer. I hope that you and your friends, your family, your neighbors, your relatives, and all of your relations will accept and receive the gifts, the healing, and the knowledge from the universe, from Creator, from the Source. I hope that every one of you will accept and receive all of these gifts every single day and stay connected to the Source. Once you get connected, it's not that hard to maintain. So I know you all are working on it, and some of you, there is no meter for this, but just keep up the good work, keep up the good prayers, and we're already on top of this. Things are changing to the good already. Even though there's some crap around, sometimes you got to wade through turds to get to the high ground. So it is what it is. So much love to you all. Have a safe Sunday evening, and I'll see you on the flip side. Be careful this Monday. This week is supposed to be proven to be some weird stuff going on this week. So just be aware. So I love you all. Cosmic hugs to everybody. Stay warm, stay safe, and I'm going to go vacuum out the kitchen because I got a little flooding going on.